Okay, y'all, today we're headed into the Tandy Leather store to find the perfect leather to recreate the black bucket bag, the drawstring bag from the Fashion Week video that I made last week. But we're going to put a girly girl twist on it. I'm going to add some brown leather to it and also a drawstring. I'm not sure yet what handle I'm going to use, but you'll see towards the end of the video what I chose to put on it. I think the final choice was the best choice since the leather looks really good, but you'll see that at the end. So now I'm just picking out what leather I'm going to use. I know in the picture of the drawstring bag that's in the Fashion Week video, it's a very thin looking leather. So I may go with something very thin because it's very easy to sew. And I honestly wish I would have, because the leather that I picked, it would be great for like a tote bag or something like that. But it was actually just a little bit too thick, but I managed to make it work. If I recreate this bag, I probably would make it with some garment leather because that would have been easier to sew with. But this store, you guys, has so much awesome leather in it.
This is your receipt.
Alrighty, thank you so much. Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too. On this table as well, some pretty hardware, but there's everything in this store. Beautiful kits. So Tandy Leather store is a great place to find leather. You could probably find them online if you don't have one in your local city. So let's go create. I'm excited. So this was the leather that I got. It was actually only $29.99 for this whole piece. So I was super excited because I do have some that I can use left over for future projects, which is going to be great. But I cut two pieces out, 10 by 10 inches. And I'm going to use that for the main front and back panel. For the lining, I used a faux leather skirt that my daughter had that she didn't like. But this brown leather strip on the top right here, I got this from Hobby Lobby. They sell a bag of leather scraps, which is kind of cool. So I was able to use some of that to make this top part. So I cut the top part 4 inches by 10 inches. And I'm just gonna place both pieces right sides facing and then sew with about a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I love the contrast of the brown and the black, especially since it's fall right now or autumn, and it just makes a really cute bag to wear with all of your fall colors. And the leather, of course, just is luxury. I love genuine leather. I love the smell of it. It's just a really good material to make any bag with. And honestly, my Singer sewing machine was a very strong machine to be able to get through this leather. I don't have an industrial machine, but I was able to make it through the whole entire bag with my sewing machine. So I folded the seam back and then I just sewed down both sides of the seam so that way it wouldn't puckle up inside the bag. And then I just placed both layers right sides together and then clipped all the way around. But what you're gonna notice is that I'm not gonna sew where the two colors of the leather match up. I'm gonna leave about 1 inch opening on the side because I'm gonna draw, because that's where we're gonna draw the drawstring through. Actually, I'm gonna sew about a 1/2 inch away from both sides of the seam. So I'm gonna start at the top and go all the way to about a 1/2 inch away from the seam where the two colors of the leather meet up. And then I'm gonna start sewing a 1/2 inch away from the bottom of the seam and go all the way around to the other side and do the same thing on the other side. Just leaving enough so that way it'll be easy for me to push my little drawstring through the opening. And because this leather is not very flexible, I do want to leave enough of an opening so I won't have such a hard time pulling the drawstring through the hole. But I definitely sewed really slow through all of the bulky parts so I don't break a needle or break thread. So even though the video is sped up a little bit, I am sewing really, really slow. So now I'm just gonna box the corners. I used a ruler and I drew a line about 3 inches away from the tip, the corner of the bag. I'm gonna clip them in place and sew them in a little bit, but I'm just stretching out the leather just to kind of pull it so it can get in place so I can box the corners. So I use some of my clips to hold everything in place. And now this is the skirt. This skirt is such a fall skirt. It's made of like this faux suede, and she had it in her room. She really didn't like it. I didn't know what I was going to use for the lining, but I thought this was perfect. I think her grandmother gave her this skirt and she just didn't like it at all. So I decided to use it for the lining after she said she was never going to wear it. And it just went perfect with all the brown and the black leather on the outside. So I cut this lining piece, cut 2 pieces, 10 by 13. And then I faced them right sides together. And then I'm just going to sew all the way around the 2 sides. And then I'm going to leave about a 3-inch opening at the bottom so that way we can turn the bag inside out. But this is a nice technique to make a drawstring bag. It's a lot easier with just regular fabric instead of genuine leather. But the bag turned out really pretty, so I definitely will be wearing it. So like I said, leave about a 3-inch opening at the bottom. And now I'm just gonna sew along the sides and leave the opening. And now I'm gonna go ahead and actually box the corners of the outside bag. And then I'm gonna go ahead and box the corners of the lining bag as well. I used some chalk so that way I can see the line, and my ruler so that way I can draw a mark right at about 3 inches to box the corners. And then this part as well, I had to go over this really slowly because I didn't want to break a needle, but going over the side seams right here was a little tough, but you can actually make it if you go really slowly, depending on what type of machine you have. Like I said, this is a really tough little Singer machine with a table attachment that I got from Joann's right before they closed, so I was happy to grab it. And it's actually pretty tough. I mean, I put some really tough materials under this machine to the test. I put it to the test and it passed the test, so I was super excited. So this was a pretty thick piece of leather, and it actually sewed it with no problem. So I just went over the edges back and forth a few times. And now I'm just gonna go ahead and box the corners of the lining. And then just cut off the excess. I cut off right about 1/4 inch away from the seam allowance on both pieces. And then I cut a little strip of leather that I had, some really thin leather though, that I had in that bag of scraps that I got from Hobby Lobby. And what I did was made it about 1/2 inch by maybe about 4 inches, And I'm going to use that to sew right on the inside of the lining on the side seam, about an inch away from the top of the rim of the bag. And that way, that's going to be the strap attachment where I'm going to hook the strap onto. I could have added D-rings to this little piece, but I just added a piece of leather and I'm just going to hook the strap onto that. And then I cut off the excess piece right from the bottom of those little tabs. I have to straighten up a little bit after each step because I hate having a cluttered sewing space, and I love my little bucket and my brush. That's how I keep things clean throughout the whole process. But yeah, little pieces of like leather and fabric all over the place, I can't deal with that, so I like to clean up after every step. Now I'm just gonna take my time. This part was just a little tedious because the leather was so thick and it wasn't very flexible. But I did take my time and managed to turn it inside out. I almost broke a sweat, but I managed to get through turning it inside out. So you definitely want to maybe get a little bit more thinner leather if you do decide to make a bag like this. But it's definitely going to be a very durable little leather bag. And over time, leather does get a little worn and softer, so it should be okay. So now I'm just going to place the outer bag inside the lining, but make sure that both layers are facing each other. And then I'm going to clip everything in place, lining up the side seams so that way they match up. I'm going to clip all the way around the rim of the bag, and then I'm just going to take the arm off of my sewing machine and my little table, and I'm going to just sew around the rim of the bag using about a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And now that that's done, I'm going to take the lining, turn it, and push it inside the bag. And I'm just going to roll the seam so that way everything is nice and neatly rolled out on the top of the bag, and just clip everything in place. I love the colors. It's so autumn and fall. But this bag, this black leather didn't crack up a lot. Some of the leather that was on sale in the store had a lot of cracks in it. I was speaking to a guy in the store, and he basically said if there's a lot of cracks, usually the leather is not really good quality leather. So I decided not to go with the one with all the cracks in it, even though it was on sale. But they did have another piece that I probably should have gotten. But I do like I said, the way the final bag looks anyway. But now that I have the rim of the bag all clipped in place, I sewed all the way around the rim using a 1/2 inch seam. And I didn't show you guys, but I did sew right above the sides where the opening is and right below the sides where the opening is, all the way around the bag. And that's what I'm gonna push the drawstring through that area. So basically right where the seam is, where the two colors meet up, there's a stitch line that's going about a 1/2 inch above that line, the seam, and then there's a stitch line that's going about a 1/2 inch below. And that's just gonna make sure that my drawstring stays right in the center. I have this little plastic tool that I use to help push drawstrings through canals like this, and it makes it really easy. So I got that from Hobby Lobby. But even though this was also very tedious and took a little time to get it through, I made the drawstring with some of the pieces I had left over from the skirt. And what I did was, it was kind of stretchy, so it was perfect material. I pushed it through one side and then I made another drawstring and pushed it through the other side. So I just folded a strip in half and then I just cut off the excess when I was finished, just to make a small enough strip to resemble a little drawstring. And like I said, I cut off the excess from the seam and then pushed it right through the other side of the bag. So as you can see now, I do have a strap attached. I used a gold chain strap, a little short chain strap that I had. I thought might have been cute, but I decided to change it up because I did have a black leather strap from another bag that I have that I wear all the time. And it was just perfect to go with this because it's black, but it has these little gold round circles all over the strap, and it's just, the leather on it is just really nice, and it matched the leather of this bag so perfectly. So I decided to change up the strap, take this one off. Even though I like my little gold chain strap, most times I changed it up to the leather one, and I think I like that one. So I just tied a knot on the sides after pushing the leather, squeezed it in as much as I could. Like I said, this bag is not very flexible, but as I started kind of playing with it, it started to get a little bit looser, and then I was able to kind of draw the drawstring in just a little bit more. But yeah, here's the final outcome. I think it's very cute, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Watch the next video that's on screen if you want to learn how to make another amazing bag, and I'll see you in that video. Bye, guys.